Another sophisticated argument comes from those who studied liberal critical biblical scholarship, and you'll find their arguments used by Shibir Ali, and it's the evolving Christology view. This view goes like this: if you start with the first gospel, which scholars say was Mark, you'll see that the portrait of Jesus is that he was a supernaturally empowered man. And by the time you get to John, which is the last gospel written, which is about 6 years after the resurrection of our Lord, there Christ is exalted to divine status. So this is one of the arguments that Shabir Ali champions and others like him, following the lead of liberal critical scholarship, that there's an evolution in Christological thinking. So you go to the earliest strand of Christology, earliest Christian tradition. Jesus is an amazing, supernaturally empowered, spirit-filled, anointed man, but no more, no less. It's John that gives us the doctrine of the incarnation. And even there, Shabir would say he's a subordinate deity, not equal to the Father. So this is actually a good objection to address, because this is trying to take the Bible, quote unquote, seriously, because unfortunately, those who are teaching in many accredited institutions do happen to be liberal critical Bible scholars, at least the better known ones. I mean, the most famous is Bart Ehrman, obviously. So these are the arguments that a trained Muslim apologist will bring up. Don't believe me? Watch some of the debates that Shabir Ali has had with Christian scholars. And I recommend the debate that he had with David Wood on the deity of Christ. Is Christ the divine Son of God? And, you know, obviously I'm biased, but David flattened him, but that's beside the point. How do we address this? Well, this is why I encourage Christians to try to make a case for the deity of Christ from the Gospel of Mark, and then work your way to Matthew, Luke, and then leave John last. Because typically when a Christian is asked to show the deity of Christ, the first place he goes to is John, and that proves the Muslim contention. You see, you needed to go to John. You didn't go to Mark, you didn't go to Matthew, you didn't go to Luke, you didn't go to Acts. So I would highly encourage and exhort Christians, and if I have time, I'll give you examples from Mark, but I think maybe there's a question. I would highly encourage Christians listening, study the Gospel of Mark in detail, because there is meat all throughout the Gospel of Mark pointing to the absolute essential deity of Christ. In fact, Mark 1 begins by announcing Jesus to be the embodiment of Yahweh. That the Old Testament prophet said that Yahweh was going to come and live in the midst of his people. And Mark says, here he is in the person of Jesus Christ. That's just the first chapter. But